Be gentle with me. All right, live. Now it told me to go to Instagram. Click go live. Wow. Oh, okay. That's fun. Now I can share with my mom because I promised I would do that. Let's see. Let me confirm we're on Twitter. Yeah, look at that. 2 views. That must be my mom.
That must be your mom. It's great.
I'm going to take a moment just to repost it. Honestly, it's probably not. She'll catch the recording. We can still swear. Well, guys, welcome to Happy Hour Radio with Sin from Artifacte. This is episode 2. If you missed last week's, this is just a chance for Tzvi and I to kind of get together, talk about how the weeks went, present to you guys the winner of the Hunts leaderboard, which are us dropping premium bottles every week for everybody who's been in liquor stores, doing the hunting, bringing the transparency to the liquor market. So, gentlemen, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll give a moment to let the people join in, but before I get into Sin, Tzvi, why don't you tell us how you're doing? What are you up to?
I am doing very well. I am currently shilling bottles of vintage wine to someone who asked me on Twitter.
That's exciting.
So I'm out here shilling.
Sin, I don't know if you saw, we actually just posted it, and then I think the person responded who it was. 3 bottles swept from a very special collection, which once Tzvi has a second mind to tell us about it, it'll be a lot of fun to hear about.
Yeah. It was some gin from 1904, which is just super, super cool.
A second mind to tell us about it, it'll be a lot of fun to hear about.
Yeah, 1 second. Wait, is anyone else getting a echo?
That was me.
Okay, nice. So basically these bottles that were produced in Philly by the Chandler Gin company. So they were found like in the original wooden crate, and they went to auction in the whole crate, and somebody bought them, put them on BAXUS, and they have been now selling off in over time. And so somebody came and bought 3 of the original dozen that were in there, and there's only I think 4 left. So super, super cool bottle, just because it also, like, I have an open bottle with me actually. I'll go get it, put it on the stream so people can see. But it literally literally does not taste like any gin I've ever had before. So gotta give them credit for that.
I got passed from the team, Sin, that this had just happened, that 3 bottles have been swept because we have a little internal bot thing.
Nice.
And I didn't really understand the magnitude of how special the bottles were as I delved into sort of, making a bit of a marketing post for it and butchering the first couple of attempts, and then getting deeper into the actual facts, and then getting into a back and forth with Tzvi over it and being like, oh my God, this is crazy. This is surviving the Great Depression, surviving Prohibition, surviving robbery, thievery. That's fantastic.
I'm more curious as to why Tzvi opened one of those bottles.
Because they're really good. And yes, there is obviously the collectible side of wine and spirits. But at the end of the day, we're here to drink it.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying, because I end up in that situation where I end up with so much stuff. I'm like, I'm just going to rip one back. So collectors selling, such a tough thing. I don't think people get that, right? You're like a collector, and then at the same time, you're a connoisseur because you're a collector. And then you're tempted with all this stuff you get. You're like, oh man, I got so much stuff. I don't want to list this. This one's mine.
Yep.
That's actually a good time for you to tell us about your journey to Artifacte.
Yeah, so I actually started coming up with this idea probably around a year ago. I've been on chain since 2017, and I started really getting into like the whole Pokemon scene. Like I think it was like May, April, May, right around then, 2025. And I was like, oh, these are, kind of cool. I like it. I'm going to start collecting some of this too. And I had a lot of frustration between all these marketplaces everywhere. It was almost like I kept hitting my head on the wall thinking like, this is like an ethal too. There's fractured liquidity and it's everywhere. And I'm spending hours on each one of these sites, just trying to find a card. I'm like, and I'd end up on eBay. You know why? Because I had the biggest selection and it was easy. So I said to myself, I'm just going to build something like an aggregator, for example. We bring, curated and vetted projects only, because I want to make sure that the users that spend, whether it's $100 or $5,000 or more, that they're actually getting an asset. We've seen it with the TCG meta recently. There's 1,000 people popping up like, buy my coin. It's gives you access to this gotcha, and you have access to this card, and it makes the coin go up. And you're like, is there really an underlying asset though? So I wanted to build a site where the consumer can go on there, feel that it's safe, it's reputable, and they're getting what they're paying for, rather than just, it's crypto, man. That you bought it from the wrong place. So that was the overall goal, and to bring RWAs all together too. As you see, there's like buy links to BAXUS there, so kind of put them all under one roof.
I like that. Is curation, at a community level, at a team level, do you take input from other places? Where does like the inspiration for what, you deem, the Sotheby's of Solana? That must be a hard task.
It is. And there's about 4 of us, and we debate, we butt heads sometimes, if that's for sure. One of us will feel stronger about something than the other. But at the end of the day, usually we come to an agreement, whether yes or yay or nay. And that's how it goes through. It's like a small board of 4 of us. We're actually thinking about increasing that. So, this way we have more opinions on the matter. But that's something we're discussing at the moment to discuss with more people. So we're holding a lot of meetings behind closed doors about things.
Awesome.
And it usually comes from like, experience and, have you used this site? Have you received the asset? Do you know it's trustworthy and verifiable?
Fair.
Yeah, and I think I would say to the pure NFT side of it, it makes sense because obviously, I mean, not that all RWAs are created equal. I think, as we know, like who the vaulting provider is, what that vault actually looks like is really a big deal because especially with all the gotchas popping up, like you want to make sure that there's actually something there, like when the time comes to redeem it. But I think at the point where we are with NFTs, where it's really at this point, they're, to your point, Sin, like they're really entrance into a community. You want to make sure that that community is actually worth entering, that it's not just like, some guys trying to run like a pump and dump to get everything, up and exciting and get like eyeballs on it, and then they dump it all on everyone's heads.
Exactly. And as you know, anyone can mint an NFT. So, it just makes it easier for others if there isn't a gatekeeper, to take advantage of the others.
It almost feels like with all of the new real world assets that are being tokenized, and I'm fully here for it. Who's the authority? You know what I mean? Like, who is there a regulating body out there? Not that I'm saying regulating from like a government perspective, but maybe somebody should go in there and looking under skirts to see if what people are claiming they have, they actually own. Because minting an NFT is one part of that, but the physical escrow is a whole other side of that.
And I come from an accounting background, so I couldn't agree with you more, because I almost feel like there should be audits done, verifiable audits once a year to prove that, you're holding $2 million in inventory supposedly. Well, is it there? How are we going to provide the users that kind of, trust and just verifiabilities? But yeah, I mean, in time, I think we'll get there. For now, we're just kind of starting to enter where people who thought RWAs were dead or just not non-existent or a failed, I've heard things from like, oh, RWAs are a failed experiment, and now look at them. Now people are like, actually, this wasn't a failed experiment, just took longer to take off than we thought. So I think we'll get it.
Fair. All right, gents. Intermission. It's happy hour. Has anybody got something they're going to be drinking on this show?
Oh, I most certainly do, and I most certainly will be drinking.
Yes.
All right, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to go first, show and tell, and then I'm going to pretend to pay attention while I put together all of the names into our sweet BAXUS draw machine. So I'm going to do my best to be a good, astute listener. This is what you get for live timestamps. I promise more technology in the future, so I will be more engaging. But I was rooting through my shit yesterday, and I found this Scotch on the Rocks. That was my grandfather's certificate of authenticity. It's a sticker, so I'm not too sure how authentic it is. Now, I don't know if Scotch rocks are a faux pas. Tzvi, you can tell me. I'm not too sure, but I'm using them in the trusty Glenmorangie today. Go.
Yeah, and by Scotch rocks, I assume you mean like whiskey stones?
Yes.
Yeah, they are not. Yeah, I'll put it like, it depends. I don't like to knock anything that anyone wants to try, but they were very, very hot and popular for a minute. But they actually, in my opinion, defeat the purpose of what the ice is supposed to do. So obviously, whiskey stones are either metal or stone. They absorb and retain like cold, and so that's why the idea was like, oh, you could put this into your whiskey and chill it without actually diluting it. The whole purpose of the ice is actually dilution. It's not the chilling. It's that it dilutes over time and like it changes and transforms the flavor. So you're right. You've made my whiskey cold, but I could stick my whiskey in the fridge if that was my intention. So they were very popular at the beginning, and they became kind of like a great gift and like giveaway. But I would say at this point the sticklers and the nerds are not using them.
So I have to combine the stone for nostalgia with the ice for the actual unlock of the flavor if I'm going to do it right. Okay.
Yeah. Again, only because, and again, it depends on which bottle and all these other things, but like whiskey itself has these natural oils. And so if you ever take like, especially a cask strength, non-chill filtered whiskey, it's really cool actually to do is like hold it up to the light. And then you take like a tiny bit of water, like a dropper or like something, and you drop in like a straw, you drop in a tiny, tiny 1 drop of water. And if you ever did those experiments as a kid, like with the oil and the, water and oil and like seeing it split, you basically get that within the whiskey itself. Like the oils in the whiskey start to like kind of form around it. So you see this with ice also as the water like makes its way through. So yeah, that's kind of what you're trying to do is open that, release those vapors, etc.
I love it. I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued. Okay. Who's going next for their show and tell?
All right, I'm going to go grab my stuff, and I'll be right back.
Perfect. So I'll wait for you.
Okay.
All right. We can talk some statistics. So this week, since last week, we've got 1,127 entries, which I am going to place into the BAXUS draw, and we will draw it together. You know what? I don't even know if we talked about it, Tzvi. What bottle are we giving away today?
What bottle are we giving away today? I don't know. What bottle should we give away today?
We love that. I'm going to potentially risk feedback by going into Twitter, because as we know, we want to see who's hanging around.
All right.
Maybe we do an extra bottle this week to see who's tuning in. And we'll go from there. All right. Who's up?
All right. I have Blantons. Some people say Blantons. Some people say Blantons. I don't know. I've heard so many. There we go. It keeps the little camera magic keeps messing with it. There we go. So now, as V was saying, I prefer mine on ice because I have noticed that if you just kind of pour it, as I'm doing at the moment, and just let it sit for like about 5-10 minutes, the flavor profile is completely different. Like at first, when you sip on it, it's like really strong if you take it right out of, the bottle to the glass. But if you just kind of give it like 5 minutes or so, it just gives it a completely different flavor. It doesn't have that strong kickback when you first take it down. It's smoother. So I prefer ice versus rocks.
Fair. For what it's worth, I do too. But nostalgia, you can't knock on nostalgia. All right, Tzvi. What are you cooking?
I am having opened this a couple of weeks ago. One of my favorite distilleries in Scotland, Linkwood. Not very well known, I would say, in the general consumption crowd, primarily because most of Linkwood's products goes into other blends. It's owned by, I want to say Diageo, but Diageo. It's owned by Diageo. And so you'll see its product, like Linkwood is blended into things like Johnny Walker and into like other whiskeys and stuff. So it wasn't like well known for its own single malts, but it happens to make really delicious Highland single malt. This one was bottled at 48 years old. So old, nice old single malt Scotch, perfect for a Friday afternoon. It was bottled for the Italian importer Sestante. So they're known for having made some of like the best single malts, like especially during the glut era in the the 80s, 70s, and 80s when there was an excessive amount of Scotch whiskey that had been produced. Same thing in the American market. There was a ton of reshifting and kind of refocusing of the market. A lot of distilleries that closed. And so it kind of became this era of the independent bottler. These brands were able to go and source, individual whiskey barrels that were exceptional and then bottle them under their own labels or for their own brands and import it. Italy, after World War II, developed a huge appreciation for single malt Scotch because it came along with the British soldiers. So that was just a super interesting thing, kind of like as an after effect of the war. And so some of the best independent bottlings, especially of that era, are actually all Samaroli, Sestante, like these actual Italian imports. So this was actually distilled in 1939, so right at the beginning of World War II, and bottled in 1987. So nice little piece of liquid history over here.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Note to self. Get your bottle facts from Tzvi before the show so that you can present properly.
Right.
Better yet, learn a thing or two. That'll be my challenge for next week. I'll learn a thing or two. What were you saying, Sid?
I'm like, yeah, here's some Buffalo Trace whiskey called Blanton's. Blanton's.
Listen, I can give you the full rundown on that as well, but it's all good.
Come on, give us a little one while I do this.
They're not really that far from where I live, and I'm looking forward to taking some trips with my full self-driving features lately. So I may just have to head over to Buffalo Trace one of these days and check them out, learn a few things while I'm there, and maybe take a tour.
That you definitely should, especially because I will say that I'm not sure if it's from the official Buffalo Trace website, I need to check, but there's always people who are posting what their like gift shop releases of the day, because Buffalo Trace does they have some really rare allocated exceptional products, and so they put some of them into the gift shop every day, some stuff for sale, and depending on what's there, the locals will like literally just line up in droves. You see like the parking lot gets filled, people are there because it might be a bottle I don't know exactly what they sell it for. I imagine Blanton's probably there is like $80 or $89 or so. On secondary, it goes for between $120 and $150, and then you've got certain bottles that are like even crazier on the spreads, like the Weller special, not the special reserve, but like the Weller CYPBs or single barrels or full proofs. And so like there's both the flipper arbitrager kind of approach, but also the like, hey, I really like this whiskey and I don't want to pay secondary market prices, so I'm willing to go and spend 2 hours sitting in a parking lot waiting to go into the gift shop and buy it. And if I'm also not mistaken, I think that they have some sort of system where they scan your ID and like you're only allowed to buy one gift shop release per, or at least maybe just the allocated bottles for like 30 days or 60 days or something. So little game theory also, like, is today the day that I go and wait in line and like buy the bottle and then I can't get it if they release something even better tomorrow because they, all of a sudden came out with this new AH Taylor or they revived, like, there's a lot of this type of stuff going on. So yeah.
I just need my second N. I have all the bottle toppers minus the second N, and I'm just waiting for that second N. And I've hunted and hunted, but yeah, I haven't been on BAXUS in about a week or so, but I will check it out again because this way I can send in my bottle toppers and get that nice little display where they literally just use all the letters and write it out.
Jealous. I'm jealous. Gentlemen, cheers. Is it too early? You need more time to chill?
Oh, I'm good. I already started something.
Look at
that. And I'm drinking mine without ice today, or at least starting that way. So cheers, gentlemen.
Yes, cheers.
Cheers to happy hour. Sin, thanks for coming on, man. Oh, that's nice.
Thank you for having me.
So good.
All right.
So
go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I know. Well, I know we've got a lot to talk about, but I was just going to talk glassware for a second, just because I saw we all pulled them up. So, do you guys mind pulling up your glasses again? Perfect. So you guys are both rocking like classic tumblers, which is by default, you think of anything, you think of like Mad Men, like that's what they're drinking out of, right? Like that's what they're drinking their whiskey out of. And in a lot of ways, I mean, I love a tumbler. It's like the perfect glass, good heft and weight. Like the bottom of that, like it feels substantial in your hand. Opening, like you can throw a cocktail in there, or you could have a whiskey, you can add ice to it. A lot of people, but then there's always like this whole thing in the same way with wine. It's like, what is the best glass for whiskey? There's different shapes and sizes. So the one that I think is the most famous for most people that they'll know is like the Glencairn, which is that one that's kind of like bulbous at the bottom and then it comes up narrow at the top. And that's like kind of been for the longest time reviewed or revered as like the whiskey glass. Or I actually really don't like it for a bunch of reasons, but most importantly, I actually think it's really bad for the intention was that it was supposed to like help bring all the flavors up and together into the nose. And that's why it like has a bulbous bottom, but then tapers in. But it actually, I find, just concentrates too much of the alcohol, that it actually becomes difficult to get past like the alcohol vapor to the actual like underlying scents and the aromas of the whiskey. And so a couple of years ago, I was actually introduced to this glass. It's called I believe it's called the Neat glass. I have to double check. And, like everything else, there's some marketing story, invented by a NASA scientist and all that, I think, or whatever. But really what I like about this is it has the same bulbous kind of proportion as the Glencairn, but rather than tapering in, it then tapers out. And so what ends up happening is like the alcohol and those vapors kind of sit there at the bottom. But then when I actually put my nose to it, it's a much wider, so it's not like all concentrated where I'm just getting a blast of like, ethanol to the nose. I'm actually getting a lot of like the actual nosing like scent and stuff. So especially for something like a 48-year-old 1930s Linkwood, like this is the type of glass that I'm using for something like this.
I love that. It's funny. I'm actually happy to hear you say that, because I was doing some nerding last night and watching a good documentary called The Water of Life. And everybody was holding the glasses, and I'd been to a bunch of these little whiskey fests, and they have the glasses. My dad has the glasses. And I was like, you know what? I think they're kind of ugly. I don't want to, I might upset a lot of people by saying that. But I'm glad to hear you like strike out with something a little different, even if for scientific reasoning.
I have maybe used those glasses a few times. In my younger years, I used to actually work as a bartender, and we had those glasses, and that's what we were supposed to serve and pour in, or I should say serve in for the customer. And of course, there's been a few nights where, you stay after work. I didn't think they were all that great. I never understood it. It just seemed like it was just a dressed up way to put the whiskey in the glass. Really, it just seemed fancier than anything else.
Fair. That's fair.
And what'd you say?
Go ahead, see.
Sorry, no. What were you saying?
No. Nothing. Go to it.
Nothing either. I was just gonna talk about whiskey.
Talk. I'm gonna
Right.
bring up the marketplace.
Yeah. So there's a really, really, really good book that you should read called Warehouse H that's specifically about Blantons, because so Blantons is like, there's a lot of like interesting information, like history and information about Blantons. So Blantons is produced by Buffalo Trace. That's why it's there and everything. But the mash bill that goes into Blantons is not actually owned by Buffalo Trace, nor is Blantons the brand. So if you ever wondered why you see all these like rare types of Blantons that are like Japan exclusives, like the Blanton's black and the Blanton's green and all these special, it's because Blanton's is actually owned by a Japanese company that owns a couple of other brands like Ancient Age that is produced by Buffalo Trace, like as a contract producer for them. But under, and I don't know the terms of the deal, the contract, etc., the original Blanton's bottle was, and the whole concept was actually produced by Albert Blanton, who was the master distiller at Buffalo Trace, and he pulled it was the first single barrel bourbon, like the first thing to be marketed as single barrel, where it means like it only came out of one barrel and they bottled it, just the contents of that one barrel. So that was just like a kind of a cool, funny aside and stuff, is that it's one of the most iconic American whiskeys and obviously produced at Buffalo Trace, but not actually owned by them. It's actually owned by another brand. And that's why more of the rare releases of it is actually, they're not sold domestically. They're actually almost all international, like exclusive releases. And on top of it, the other cool part though, is just that every bottle of Blanton's comes out of Warehouse H at Buffalo Trace, that there's like one specific warehouse where the barrels are kept, and that's like, it cannot come out of anywhere else.
Yeah, actually, I remember when I was buying some of the reds and blacks and from 92, whatever, and I was on your marketplace and I started doing a little research. I was uncovering something about that like certain bottles were only released exclusively in, the Asia marketplace, for example. And I was like, well, that's kind of weird. So I dug a little into it and I did find out some of that stuff. I mean, not enough, but I did. As for the Warehouse H, that's actually really interesting that they do it all in that one spot.
Yeah, and of course, that's part of the idea is that it should help maintain some of the continuity of the profile, because they are all single barrel. Yes, they're proof down, except for the straight from the barrels have their higher ABV. But they are all proof down, so it does also mean that like it's actually easier now for people to easier to drink, but they want it to taste the same, because you don't want it to be that one bottle of Blanton's tastes so drastically different from another bottle.
Right.
The other thing I was going to mention is Sin, because this was you mentioned trying to collect all the letters. So like the toppers on the top of Blanton's, those like horses, they're actually, if you look at them, they're actually different. They're in different poses. They're actually in motion. And so when you line up, and so each of them, if you want to go onto the BAXUS site and just pull up a Blanton's, we can zoom in on the image. We'll walk people through what this looks like.
I actually have a whole bunch here, speaking of.
Perfect. Here, so perfect. So you see how those two at the top are like in standing mounted position?
Yeah.
And then the two underneath, the minis are running, like already in motion?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And if you keep scrolling, you'll see like even more, because again, the minis are, so like different poses. And so if you click in any of them, or Sid, if you want to show us from one of the ones that you have.
So a B is the standing mounting, but this camera is really pain, is the standing mounted position. That's right cool. There.
And so at the base of the hoof is a little, click into that photo.
Oh yeah, I've gotten really good at zooming in on these.
Yeah. And next photo. And then double click. Go. Enhance. Jarvis, enhance. So you see that S right over there at the back of the leg, that S. And so this means that this is the final pose in the full Blantons, that like randomly they're assigned one of the letters and one of the poses. And when you collect all of them, the whole lineup of Blantons, it shows this horse in perfect motion, like actually through the gallop. And B, it also, if you mail them to Buffalo Trace, which is just a super cool fan service thing that they do, the whole Blanton's lineup, they will mount them on a used barrel stave and then mail it back to you.
I'm seeing it now, because you have B where it starts off like this, and then right as you get into L, it goes right into motion. Like it's basically at the start of the race.
All right, who's got the full set? Show it, people. There's 86 of you watching. Who's got it?
Yeah, I know there's some people that do. I've seen them in the comments. I'll be like, oh, I'm missing this letter. They're like, I have the full set. And I'm like, yeah, click off this comment. I'm getting there, okay? I'm getting there. I'm just down to my
So which one? So you said you're missing the second N. Is that the one?
Yep. The second.
All
Well,
right.
I don't know if it's the first N or the second N because I didn't know about the poses. So now I'm going to have to look at my N and compare it to the
This
N's.
is an N right here.
Yeah.
Is this the same
Here's the
N as you?
N's.
Now that I've
Hold on,
become a professional at
Hold on.
zooming.
I have to drink through them still, but I have. Yeah, here's my N. This one. This is the N I have.
You know, I'm not sure. I wonder. No, I think there. I'm 90% sure there is a difference between the N's.
Amazing. Oh my goodness.
So this
All right.
guy's got.
Yeah, there is a
horse-
difference.
Yep. It looks like that one right down there. The horse with the tail straight out. Oh, okay. Most of them.
Okay, so your N. Okay, so your N. Here's the thing: is the leg connected to the N the right
Yes.
leg or the left leg?
It's the right leg. Let's see if I can get
Okay.
up this camera message.
Okay, so I think yeah. So I think that one might be. I think that's the second N, if I'm not mistaken. And so what you need is the. I'm not sure. It might be the first. Either one. The point is the other one, the other N that you're looking for. The left leg is connected to the N.
Okay. Okay. Yep. I need.
So the right leg is forward and the left leg is back. So, all right, Mike, we're dirt.
Sorry,
We're gonna
Mike,
go
sorry.
hunting right now. Let's. No, it's
Sorry.
okay. No. The opposite. I said let's go hunting right now. Let's go see on all the listings if we could find one that has an N on it. So
Okay.
Let's see if we can find the one that has the correct N.
So that's N left leg. This might literally be it right here. Was yours?
Yeah, I
N?
think that might be it.
I think that's it right here.
Oh yeah, that's it. That's definitely it. Because mine faces the opposite way. You know, like the letter is over here on the right leg. That's the left leg for sure.
That's the left leg. Yeah.
Yep.
There it is.
That's it.
There we go. We got him.
There
All
it
right.
is.
So send. Yeah, you got to drop Sin that link, and Sin, I will say here. Actually, scroll down, Dirt, because obviously I would say that's definitely above fair standard market value right now. We go 115, 120. So yeah, Sin, you know how to make an offer. You can always submit an offer on it and see if you can secure the missing N.
I'm
Then-
down to the missing end. I have
But that's
spent
it.
8 months collecting these letters. I'm like, man, and it's such a pain too because like half the time you're like, okay, you're going to a store and you're like, oh my god, you don't have one letter.
That's fantastic.
I was going to say one other super cool thing about Blantons, and there's only a couple of bottles in whiskey that do this. So if you go back to pull up any Blantons,
Roger. Back.
Here we go. Okay, perfect. Go back.
Go back.
Well, click on the first. No, sorry. You were right. I mean, click into it and then just click on the first image. So this way that it's not rotating. So this way you can zoom in.
Yep.
So if you zoom in over there on the label, the bottom label, perfect.
Yeah,
So Blanton's, So Blanton's has, which only a couple of other bottles do, again, because it's a single barrel, they have what they call the dump date. So you see the exact day that they took that barrel out of the rickhouse and dumped it into the bin and then into the bottle. And so Blanton's is like universally used as like a birthday bottle for new babies because people are constantly looking to see like, can I find the exact day my baby was born or that a kid was born? And even the vintage ones, you can do this also because they've been doing this since the beginning. So like I got from my brother was born in like November of 95. Like I found his exact birth date and I bought like it was a bottle of Blanton's Black. And so I bought it. Now it costs more because it's vintage and it's 95 Blantons and whatever. But it's so cool to be able to have something that was like literally poured out of the bottle on the day out of the barrel on the day he was born. So again, because whiskey is often used as like gifts and like especially associated with birthdays and big dates and anniversaries and stuff. So Blanton's is like a really popular one because you can try at least and find the specific date. I don't remember. I'm sure I think actually if you're curious, I think if you email Buffalo Trace and you ask them, they will tell you which days, like if you're like, hey, I'm looking for whenever you have a kid or a grandkid or a niece or a nephew or a friend's kid is born, and you could say, hey, I'm looking for bottles from April of 2026. They'll tell you the exact dates that they actually dumped barrels, like so that because there might be some days like that they're not like dumping Blantons, and so you'll know whether or not it's even possible to find the bottle you're looking for.
That is so freaking cool. I don't know if I'm the only one in this watching this, but I'm like, I got to get me some Blantons. But then now I'm like, man, it's not even about the letters anymore. And I got to spell it, and I got to find if there's any on my birthday, my other kids, my brother's kids' birthdays. Like, not that they have any kids, but they will eventually. Oh my God. It's just so much to learn on a happy hour, And it's like at the end of the week, we should almost do these on Monday, so I got some time to digest. Class. All right, Tzvi. What is the bottle we're giving away? I probably should have been a better intern and self-selected this first. I'm gonna say this now, save you from the feedback later. And then we'll get spinning. Sin, you're gonna give me the countdown, and I'm gonna press on the button. But we got to do what bottle first?
1 second. I'm like just perusing.
I like that. Do you want to take control of the perusing?
No, let me pull something up on the only so this way you guys you don't know which direction I'm going.
I like that. I'm gonna pretend to be Tzvi's brain while he's thinking.
I like how you're silent, which is good. Very, very, very much so aligned with how my brain just happy, animal noises.
Yeah. Just really slow moving, not 1,000 thoughts at once. Yeah. Very cohesive.
No, what are you, we're drinking, you've got what do you got? You've got, Sin's got bourbon. I've got Scotch. You're drinking
Scotch as well.
You're drinking Scotch as well. So we've got 2 Scotches. So I feel like we should do Scotch just because, that's simply just how it worked out today. Two versus 1. So
I like it.
Let me take a look and see what's Scotch. Oh, you know what we should do then? Oh, because let's do the Black Spoke Bridge, the single-cask nation exclusive bottle that we did for BAXUS, the barrel that we did. It's a Black Spoke Bridge. So to give everyone some context on that, is obviously there is no distillery known as Black Spoke Bridge. What happens is that some of the whiskey in Scotland is sold off, and most of it in the US is sold off without naming rights. And what that means is that the distilleries will sell you the whiskey. You can say the region it's from, etc., but you cannot put the name of the distillery onto the bottles that you do itself. This isn't true for all of them. Some of them do sell with naming rights. Sometimes distilleries have some barrels that have been sold with naming rights and others that haven't. But the Black Spoke Bridge in particular, so that one is one of these barrels that was sold without official naming rights. I will give you guys all a little, hint and secret, but it is a Glenfarclas. Now, what makes this one super, super interesting is that Glenfarclas, which is great, really great distillery, releases really great product. If you look at most of their bottles, almost every single one of their bottles, what they're really known for is their sherried whiskeys, is the single malts that go into sherry casks. And what was super, super interesting about this one, which is why I think that Single-Cask Nation, which is the company that found these barrels and ultimately bottled them, was that these were aged in bourbon barrels, not in sherry casks. And so typically what is a much, much darker color for whiskeys is now much lighter in appearance and has a totally different flavor profile than what people normally associate with Glenfarclas, because almost no one has ever had unsherried Glenfarclas. And sherry adds so much to the flavor profile of whiskeys and stuff that people are consuming. So we'll give one of these away because it's a really fun one. Like when I first tried it, I really enjoyed it. And again, it's something that you're just not going to be able to find in a typical location or on the shelves unless you're getting it specifically over here.
That is super cool.
I have to ask you, do you try most of this stuff yourself?
Yeah, so I mean, anything that we do as a BAXUS, like exclusive barreling or single, 100%. Like it's not just me, members of the team, we all try it because we want to make sure that it's good and fits the flavor profile and is stuff that we want to release. And fits the flavor profile. When I say that, doesn't always mean. In fact, it usually doesn't mean like tastes exactly the same as the stuff people are used to. That's a big one. Like, for example, the preservation that we did, the very old Saint Nick, we specifically chose, and it's gotten rave reviews compared to like other single barrels because it tastes different than like the ones that some of the other barrels taste like. It would be like getting a Blanton's that tastes out of left field, like tastes like a different distillate. And so that we look for a little bit of funk or a little bit of character, or again, like in this case, something that's really novel, that it's not just like, oh, here's a Glenfarclas. It's like, here's a Glenfarclas that you would otherwise have never really tried. So that's really, again, part of what we want to do at BAXUS is like also give people exposure and like introduce them to something new and something they haven't tried yet so that they can, discover whether they like it or don't like it. So yes, I do a lot of tasting.
So you're telling me that your job is to get paid to drink alcohol and taste it and see if you like it.
That is where you are wrong. That is my job. I do not get paid to do it.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good point.
Yeah, this is welcome to founder mode. Yeah, exactly. But that is my job though.
You just get to enjoy the perks.
That's the end goal. That's the retirement plan.
Exactly.
So good. So good. Well, Sin, are you ready to help me give this puppy away?
All right, let's do it. What are we starting from? 10, 5, 3?
Let me share the tab. So for those of you that don't know, if you're listening in, to get entered into our weekly draw that we do live on the radio, on the Happy Hour radio, all you got to do is take your phone, take the BAXUS app, go to the liquor store, scan bottles, and enter the prices, which literally is just go to the liquor store, do what you were doing anyways, ensure you're not getting ripped off, provide the market with valuable data, and get a chance to win some kick-ass whiskey. It's simple. And if you're not doing it, my mother's listening to this feed. She's coming for you. She probably actually isn't even either. I know my dad is, but she's not. So, Mom, you listening? Support us over here. All right, now that the disclaimer's out of the way, Sin, I'll let you count down. I'll hover, and we'll spin for the 1,100 entries, 1127.
Yeah.
Good luck out there, people.
All right, let's go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Spin it.
All right.
Woo.
Warehouse H. You got it, buddy. That's fun.
All right. Warehouse H, which, by the way, as you now know, is perfectly appropriate because that is obviously this guy chose his username based on the Blanton's exclusive Rickhouse.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So, he's probably got a nice collection. Probably hoarding some stuff I want.
Well,
like
I'd imagine. I was going to say, I'd imagine though, if he's naming himself Warehouse H, he's probably a bourbon guy. So hopefully we can introduce him to the wonderful world of Scottish single malt as well with this Black Spelt Bridge.
I don't see a single person inside of the chat on Twitter. I just went in there and muted myself so we didn't have any feedback loops. How are we supposed to do a community giveaway if I don't see anybody in there? We'll give you guys like, a minute because we're already rocking it 43 minutes. If you can put your username, say hello in the comment section, we'll put you guys in for a chance to win another bottle. Shame. Absolute shame. Oh, that's cool. Can't post comments on destinations. Really just learning the StreamYard all at once? Got to say, I'm actually pretty impressed. This is pretty smooth.
Yeah.
I don't like the alignment of our videos on the left side in relation to the screen.
Yeah. I noticed that.
It's not great for the OCD that I've got, but that's okay. That's okay too.
Yeah, I keep tilting my chair from time to time. When I look over there, I'm like, oh, I'm cut off.
Well, I mean, we're just gonna have to let the word get out for next time that there's always community drops. Never given, but it happens.
Well,
All right, listen. It's not my. Listen. If people want to spend their Fridays not drinking in the afternoon, like that's truly their loss.
Yeah, I think I might have to make some excuses to come on here more often.
I mean, now you know.
Yeah.
Now you know.
Exactly. Nice way to take a break after a stressful day.
Heck yeah.
Feeling
We're streaming this to Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So if you're watching it, wherever you're watching it, let us know, because it helps us with the curation of the feed and how to interact with you guys, and get some whiskey into your hands for the long weekend. Well, long weekend for the weekend. May every weekend be long.
I like it.
Yeah. Notice. All right, gang.
Well, that's
been fun.
This has been fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. I didn't expect to learn so much, but being new to the space, and I'm feeling like every week there's going to be a lot of lessons, a lot of learning. Love good learning.
Yeah, well, as long as you're always hosting and you have Z here, you'll always be learning. And just when you thought you figured out enough, he'll teach you something new.
Yeah, we'll see what's going on. We will see what's going on over there.
Amazing.
Owen is far more knowledgeable than I am, so we'll have to schedule the calls for a time when Owen can also join us down in Australia.
Would love that. We'll do a happy hour down under edition.
There you go.
I'll play with the marketing on that. Happy down under. We'll work with it. Anyways, gents, before we string this on for too long, pleasure having you guys on. Sin, thanks for joining. Tzvi, as always.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you.
Perfect. All right.
All right. You guys have a good weekend.
You too, good sir.
All right.
Oh.